Hello and welcome to BBC Schools News Report from Abbey, Grange. I'm Freddie.
And I'm Victoria. Our top story today is the problem of homelessness in Leeds. Have you noticed there are more homeless people on the streets recently?
Yes, it depends. In towns there definitely seems to be more.
What do you think of when you think of homeless?
You might think of warmth and water, but for the homeless, unfortunately, it's very different.
On just one night in 2016, the government statistics were thrown up that 4,134 people slept rough on one night across England.
This is double the number counted in 2010. Already in school, we have made aware by this by an assembly by Mr. Kilkenny.
7 or 8, he wanted to start helping homeless people. And so he decided from the start of December till the end of December, he slept outside in just a cardboard box. Well, I think he's still doing it now, and he's probably in his late teens, maybe early 20s, but every year for a period of time, to raise money and raise awareness for homeless people, he sleeps outside and raises money for those people.
It doesn't just affect schools, it also affects our home community, such as shop owners. Does homeless people affect your business in any way?
I think they do a little bit.
How?
Because we have homeless people that sit outside a few doors away from our shop, and some customers do get deterred by the homeless people sat outside.
St George's Pits are a charity that aim to help people in or on the street. Like changes of them on the streets.
I think there are more people on the streets than there were before. And I don't know exactly why that is, I have to say.
This is our student from Abbey Grange telling us their opinion on homelessness.
What homelessness means to me is that people who are less fortunate than us and don't have enough money to care for themselves.
As you can see, there are a lot of different opinions on whether we should help the homeless or not.
As Abbey Grange, we will try our best to help the less fortunate.
Amina and
Casey and
Jarvin and
Josh.
reporting from Abbey Grange School News Report.
Thank you for the excellent report.
Do you think we know enough about mental health in schools?
I know that we do some lessons around mental health in PSHCE, but do we know enough?
Hello, today we are going to talk about the stress of tests that children from the age of 8 to 18 years old go through. Here with me, Aisha. Children all over the country are stressed about tests, although the Department of Education said tests are a key part of ensuring young people master their full potential. But I want to see what other people think.
So I do get a number of students coming to see me worried about tests. Most of them come from years 10 and 11 because it's the first time they've ever experienced. Well, tests are very important, and at some stage we have to know, the levels of knowledge that students have, and if what we're teaching them and what we're trying to instill in them is sinking in and they're understanding what we're doing. But I think you've got to get the balance right.
420 people, half of them harm themselves, 89% due to stress.
I think that mental health is an issue because so many people don't understand it, and I think we should be taught about mental health more in school because it doesn't feel like we can just openly talk about it. I don't think enough is done because we rarely do assemblies and events to help people with mental health disorders. And I think that if we talked about it more, so many people would understand it and not feel alone with it. And the things I think we could do to help, I think we could do assemblies to make sure that people know about it, and just events in school and groups that would meet on a lunchtime so people can just talk about it comfortably. And I started doing the videos because quite a while ago I was anxiety used to really affect me a lot, and I was actually sad all the time. So I just started writing it. I think I started with one piece because my mum didn't understand it, so I wrote her a piece and she read it, and it just became a thing that I'd do to help my mum and my family understand, and it just helped me, so I continued doing it, and I put it up because just to help other people.
I feel quite stressed about the upcoming GCSE exams, but how I cope with that stress is by making a written timetable and by taking breaks every now and again to do sport or to listen to music.
There's been two sides of the argument, one positive and one negative. Now it's time to hear your opinion. What do you think? This is Aisha.
One issue that is causing stress in schools is the new curriculum.
Did you know that we were the first students to take the new Year 6 SATs?
How were your SATs? Did you find them difficult?
Well, I found them quite easy, but some students found them really hard and stressful. It's not just Year 6 this year. GCSEs and A-levels have also changed. Some are saying they're even harder.
Hello and welcome to the BBC School Report. Today we are going to report on the new curriculum.
Kind of lacked a bit of range.
Do you think that the new curriculum is hard for younger people?
I think it is quite hard, it's quite a change, especially in like languages and stuff like that. It's completely changed the layout of the thing. There's no like controlled assessments anymore and stuff like that.
How do you think the new curriculum has changed pupils?
I think it's going to make them have to work a lot harder, and I think we kind of run the risk of becoming an exam factory, just training people to pass exams rather than to actually learn.
Thank you.
The curriculum we have at Abbey Grange is probably slightly different to what you'll get at other schools, although we all tend to follow the national curriculum. We think that as well as the subjects in the national curriculum, enrichment is really important, and so things like the Archbishop's Young Leaders Award are something that we've put into the curriculum in addition to other subjects. Going back to the national curriculum, I think it's really important that students at Abbey Grange get a broad range of subjects, science subjects, humanities subjects, creative subjects, and then as they get older they have some opportunities to make choices, and obviously you do a few less at GCSE and then you really narrow it down at A level, but to start with that whole spread is really important.
Hope you enjoy the new curriculum.
Would you say you're healthy?
Yes, I go to the gym twice a week and I sometimes do some running.
I go to the gym too, but not everybody at our age is as healthy as us.
My name is Manuela from Abbey Grange, and this is our school news report about kids not having enough physical activity. From the age of 7, children have been replacing physical activity with sitting. On average, boys spend 75 minutes a day exercising when they were 7, falling to 51 minutes when they were 15. The average girl spends 63 minutes per day doing moderate physical activity when 7 years old, which fell to 41 minutes at the age of 15. Let's go ask Mr. Kilkenny, a senior PE teacher at Abbey Grange, what he thinks about it. How do you feel about the increase of children replacing physical activity for sitting around?
I think it's a real worry, but I don't think there's a lot that we can do about it. I think it's down to changes in trends and technology and the things that children want to do these days. You know, they want to probably take advantage of things like iPads, mobile phones, things that are exciting and that I think there's a need for and I think there's time for, but it is a concern that more people and more young people are doing that rather than going out and being physically active. I think it's something the government have got to try and address more.
How long do you think children from the age of 12 to 16 should exercise for?
Oh, well, the government recommendations, aren't there? The guidelines that they put on adults are, 2 hours a day. Now, that's possibly unrealistic for some people when we look at their circumstances and the pressures that they've got to live with and everything that goes on at home. But I certainly think that children should be looking to get at least a good hour of activity each day where their heart rate is elevated and, it's not just going out into the garden or walking to the shop. They're doing something where they're physically testing themselves. It's so beneficial for health in later life and to stop lots of other issues developing that can cause problems.
Now we are going to ask Javid, a student at Abbey Grange, what he thinks about the statistics. Do you enjoy physical activity? If not, why?
I don't enjoy it particularly. I find it fun, but I think something as maths or English is more better because it's a life skill and it helps you more and it goes to more.
How long do you think kids your age should exercise for?
An hour a day, in my opinion.
Do you think your physical activity has decreased over the years?
I wouldn't say decreased, but it hasn't increased.
This is Manuela reporting from BBC School News Report.
What's your favourite food?
Fish and chips.
I love fish and chips.
But it's important to eat fruit as well.
I had an apple yesterday. Does that mean I'm healthy?
I think that you probably need more than an apple to have a balanced diet.
Healthy Schools has an aim to support schools and their children to grow healthily. Abbey Grange Academy wants to ensure a pleasurable dinner for all students, staff and visitors for the school. But are all these choices healthy? In the kitchen, the dinner ladies tried to make the food as healthy as possible.
School, we have lots of different recipes, and they're not always healthy because we have cakes and things like that. But we do tend to encourage like a healthy option version of it. So on the recipes, there's always like an alternative that you can have to make it healthier, like using vegetables instead of other meats or something like that. If they're vegetarian, they will go for the vegetarian options, but often students, if you offer them the opportunity to have pizzas, there's often pepperoni, that sort of thing goes on. So no, not always. I think students like to eat what they like.
But do people choose to be healthy?
Are you eating an orange? Peanut butter sandwich. Apple juice.
I'm eating a non-toasted muffin with jam on. I'm eating Walker's crisp.
What are you eating?
We're trying to feed them healthy food, but sometimes we don't always want to be healthy. We are trying to eat food more. Well, yeah, junk food is sometimes nicer, but also that healthy food is nicer.
People are still getting used to healthy eating, but in 2004, the amount of obese children was 36%. Now it's lower to 33%. In conclusion, eat what you want, but remember to be healthy.
How do you feel when you don't have access to your mobile phones?
I feel kind of alright, but some people feel that they need to keep up with their messages all the time.
As you may already know, the punishment of using any handheld device whilst driving has increased by double the amount.
So how do you feel about the use of mobile phones while driving?
Well, I personally don't use my mobile phone whilst I'm driving. I make sure that it's always on hands-free. I think it puts people in harm's way by using the phone, and it's not safe, and it's a regular thing. I tell my husband, don't be on your phone.
Every year there are at least 330,000 accidents due to the distractions of the phones whilst driving.
Have you witnessed it before?
Yes, I was in Leeds and I looked to my left and I saw this guy and he was like full addicted to his phone.
If you saw someone using their phone, would you report it?
It depends if like they were full on looking at it, like if they were only looking at it briefly.
As you can see from our interviews, phones should not be used whilst driving due to the severe consequences it can cause. Thank you for watching.
Hello, today's story is all about phones and how they are a problem around the UK. Students have been using them during school hours and texting and going on social medias. Today I'm at Abbey Grange Academy to find out more.
I think mobile phones should be allowed in school because they're a really great way of still learning, and instead of the school wasting their money on iPads, I think we should have our mobile phones and they could block other sites on them, and if there's an emergency we can call our parents really quickly.
Phones should be allowed in school because if you've got an emergency you can straight away call your parents and then tell your teacher. But I also think it shouldn't, because then you can go on social media and you won't really listen to the teacher if they're teaching you, and you could get lower grades.
I don't think phones should be allowed in school because they can be a massive distraction in lessons and at lunchtime. I also think certain children may use this to bully others. For example, if they've got a really fancy phone, they may pick on the children who might not have a fancy phone.
I don't think that students should be allowed their phones in school because they can go on the social media, and that causes a lot of arguments between friends and in all social groups.
I can see both the pros and cons to using phones in school. However, I think the school's duty to safeguard children overrules the pros, and therefore I don't think phones should be allowed in school.
found out the dangers of phones in school and the problems of phones in schools. Now it's up to you and your school to make the decision of whether you should keep phones in school.
What did you think of the St Andrew's trip?
I thought it was fun because we got to interact with our friends. Let's find out more. Abbey Grange is the only Church of England school in Leeds and one of the only 6 faith schools in the area. So are faith schools important and what makes them different?
For the last few years, students at Abbey Grange have been visiting prayer spaces at St Andrew's Church.
Koinonia. And what koinonia means is coming together as a community to be with God. So look with faith or some understanding of any kind of faith. Often at faith schools, like today where we've got our prayer space, they offer opportunities for reflection and to allow young people to experience a quiet space, a place to connect with God or something that they believe in, something higher than us. And often the schools are a lot more understanding and empathetic towards that.
Prayer spaces are interactive and fun ways of exploring prayer, which really means exploring our conversation with God and with ourselves. As part of prayer is to think about our own hearts and minds and what we think about things, and another part of prayer is to think about other people and how we interact with them, and to ask God to help us.
That was our BBC School News report from Abbey Grange. I'm Victoria.
And I'm Freddie.
Thank you for watching!